So the other day I put a poll out on the community tab to see what kind of videos people really wanted to see here, and it seems like list-style videos by and large are still pretty favored. So in that spirit, today what I wanted to do was try to test out a new format for the channel, and that is one where I kind of regularly look at some of the heavy hitters that are coming down the pike for the Steam Deck, or at least for Steam, because I guess realistically we don't really know how well a game's going to perform on deck until it comes out, unless it's a situation where, the publisher decides to go ahead and pre-verify the game for a Steam Deck and we see that indicated. But as it stands, obviously not every single title that's going to be coming in the future is going to show up and, immediately work flawlessly on the Steam Deck. We can just kind of hope for the best. So, in that spirit, considering that list-style videos are something that people want to see more of, today I just want to go over some of the heavier hitters that are coming out from Steam in March, and, just kind of take a look ahead instead of at the things that I'm already playing, or looking backwards at pickups or something like that. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the first entry on this list, and that would be Wolong Fallen Dynasty. So just looking at the cover art for Wolong really gives me Sekiro vibes, and that might not be terribly unfounded considering it is an action RPG, and also one that's set around a nameless soldier who has to fight back against various monsters in a dark fantasy setting. And this is supposed to be a mostly linear experience rather than an open world experience, but you'll also be able to summon in friends to help out with combat as it does feature co-op multiplayer. From the outset, you'll be able to customize your character and select from one of 5 different phases that reflect your fighting style, those being fire for attack, earth for defense, wood for support, metal for debuffs, or water for stealth, and these will help determine your starting stats, spells, and I believe the divine beast that you'll be able to summon to assist you in battle. Combat's looking pretty intense so far, and the brutality appears to be right in line with what you would expect from a Souls-like in this vein. And I believe there are some gameplay videos floating around on YouTube right now if you want to go get a closer look at the combat, and it does look to have exactly the sort of high-risk, high-reward gameplay that I appreciate. Although if you want to experience it for yourself, there should be a demo available right now, at least as of this recording I believe. Completing the demo will unlock the Crouching Dragon Helmet DLC in the full game. And switching gears over to horror now, we do have a remaster of Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse that's coming on March 8th. Now, a couple of years ago, we got a remaster of Maiden of Blackwater, which is the 5th mainline game, and this would be a remaster of the 4th entry, which originally came out on the Wii back in 2008. So suffice it to say, I'm glad they're continuing to show the series love, because this is a series I really want to spend more time with. The story is set in the fictional Rogetsu Island, and revolves around the mystery of a group of girls who were held captive on the island for unknown reasons. True to the series history, you'll be dealing with pesky ghosts with your trusty camera obscura. And I have to say, I really love the gameplay loop in the Fatal Frame games. Now, when I have had occasion to play either the original title or Maiden of Blackwater, I love how the atmosphere and mechanics interlink in these titles. It's unnerving enough to explore spooky environments in games, but it's ramped up considerably when you have to not only face a threat that manifests, but also do that while trying to get the best possible picture you can in a first-person view while the ghosts close in on you. I find this to be a completely terrifying and brilliant setup, and it really reminds me of Silent Hill 4 when you kind of look through the people and get a first-person view of what was outside in the hallway while you were locked in your apartment. I hated doing that because every time I looked through it in first person, I was just waiting for something to jump scare me, and in this particular series, they make that kind of close-in look and waiting for a jump scare kind of just part of the core mechanics. So if you're a fan of this flavor of Japanese horror and you missed out on the first go-around, it might be worth checking out. Although I do hope that someday the original trilogy gets the same remaster treatment, because as far as I know, unless you're emulating them, those games are still locked to the PS2/Xbox era. Next up, while we're on the subject of updated horror classics, probably the biggest release for March is going to be the Resident Evil 4 remake, which is coming on March 23rd. And ever since Capcom started doing these modern remakes with Resident Evil 2, people have been clamoring for a remake of 4, and now it's just around the corner. It's not just a great horror game, but really an incredible game that still holds up in its original form, or even in VR if you want to play the original that way, but seeing it get a full-blown modern remake treatment is definitely welcome for horror fans. We'll once again be taking on the role of Leon on a mission to rescue the president's daughter from a horrifying village that's under a violent cult's control. I think we have a pretty good idea of what to expect here after the remakes of 2 and 3, but this one will have 6 optional control schemes, including one that mirrors the original, which I thought was a really nice inclusion. And even though I'm definitely speculating here, I'm expecting that this will probably perform pretty well on the Steam Deck, considering the prior remakes also play pretty well on the deck, but we'll find out soon enough in a few short weeks. And speaking again of horror remakes, since it looks like I just can't escape this genre for this first video about what's coming out for Steam, another one that's coming is The Last of Us Part 1 on March 28th. Now this came out last year on PS5, but now, like so many other great PlayStation exclusives, it's making its way over to PC. And given the fervor surrounding The Last of Us show, if you've never played The Last of Us, this would be an excellent way to get familiar with it. Now, The Last of Us is hardly the first game to do cinematic storytelling, but it's certainly one of the high points in the games as art debate, and it tells a far richer story than a lot of zombie games out there. Granted, a lot of people were split on how much of a remake this really was, considering, it was already remastered on the PS4, but I can tell you from spending time with it on the PS5 that at the very least it is completely gorgeous, and any artistic liberties taken with updating the characters or environments doesn't really detract from the experience at all. Now, as for how well it'll play on the Steam Deck, it's really hard to say at this point because as of this video, it does not yet have a verified status or anything like that. So here's hoping we can enjoy the beginning of Joel and Ellie's emotional journey on the go, but I'm sure we'll find out closer to release on March 28th. And finally, maybe a slightly less bombastic title, rather than all the AAA fare that we've seen so far, would be Dredge coming on March 30th. Now, I don't know a ton about this game except that it's billed as a single-player fishing adventure with a sinister undercurrent. I see what you did there. And apparently you'll be selling whatever fish you catch, upgrading your boat, and searching the sea for long-buried secrets. From what I can tell, it looks like it's going to have a unique story for sure, and honestly, I just don't know a lot of games that put you in the role of a fisherman that aren't, fishing-centric games, or, fishing mini-games that I've done in open-world games or something like that, I guess. So I'm keeping an eye on this one, not just for the unique premise and raw curiosity, but I also really love the visual style here. Something about it feels like if you took Raft and Oxenfree and sort of smashed them together. Now, there's no word on deck compatibility just yet, but given its simpler art style, I'd be really surprised if it wasn't verified out of the gate when it drops on March 30th, and I'll definitely be seeking out a copy for myself. Alright, so that's it for this one. Now, obviously this isn't like a purely comprehensive list of every PC game that's coming out in March. However, I did think that maybe I could regularly go over some of the heavier hitters that are going to be coming down in the subsequent month, and maybe cover a few personal curiosities as well. And if you do like videos like this, please let me know in the comments below. Again, this is sort of an experiment to see if there's any desire for content like this on the channel, where, again, I just sort of speculate about what's coming out, and if people like that, then I will keep making them. If they do not, I will probably not keep making them. So, all that being said, are there any games that I did not mention on this list or you think that should be included? Or if you have any suggestions for criteria on, videos like this moving forward, I would love to hear about it. As always, thank you so much for taking the time today to watch these videos. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you on the next one.